What's poppin', players? Welcome back to a Two Penny Game Club, your monthly video game book club. I am your host, Tavin the Critical Eye Bothel, here with my good friend and co-host. Say hello to the people, the big, chill Phil Shoemaker.
I'm actually the all-seeing eye.
Oh, okay. All right. And then alongside me as well is the self-anointed Connor Elliott. Because
he named himself.
There was one week of the piggy bank where he named himself the king, and then there was a games cast where he gave himself like some title or whatever. So I'm like, you know what? He's the self-anointed. You know.
I would see Connor as like a duke.
I could do that.
I think you said that in the games cast or whatever because you were involved in that as well. So, anyways, the self-anointed Connor Elliott. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, this is your Two Penny Game Club. Every month in the background, me and these fine gentlemen play a game for review at the beginning of each new month. And then we come to you, we review it, we rank it amongst the other games that we've played in the series, such as things like Final Fantasy VII, such as Metal Gear Solid, Prey, what's another one we did? Doom. A whole bunch of things. We've been here for a long time. There is a playlist in the description down below of every episode we've done so far. We rank those games amongst each other, and this month we are reviewing Bioshock, gaming classic.
So excited to find out what we're gonna play after.
Gaming classic that we play, and then of course at the end of the episode we will discover what we play next. We alternate between one of us picking or the giant gamer wheel. The game wheel did pick Bioshock for us, and that's why we're playing it. And then, Connor, you are selecting a game at the end of this episode. What will it be? I'm very excited to find out. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, subscribe, follow us for all the content on all of our social medias. Links are in the description down below because these game clubs are where the fun are for me. This is my favorite show that we do. I love doing it every time. And this one's
colluding.
This one, I think, will be... no exception. This is going to be one of them ones for the record books, let me tell you. So, Bioshock, developed by Irrational Games, August 21st, 2007. As of 2024, gentlemen, this shocked me. As of 2024, Bioshock has sold more than 43 million copies worldwide, wow, making the series one of the best-selling video game franchises of all time. Oh, you know what? This is the game series. I want Bioshock 1 sale. That's where that big-ass number's coming from. I was like, there's no way.
That's impressive.
Okay. I'm seeing 3 million copies as of June 2009. The whole franchise has sold 43 million. That makes more sense to me. There we go. And then if we jump over, Bioshock has a Metacritic rating of 96.
Jesus.
Indeed. And, gentlemen, while I was playing Bioshock, I found myself in a moment of crisis, and this is before we get into actual reviews and thoughts, because, spoilers, this one's going to be one of those ones where maybe the conversation here will be a little more understanding. But this is one of those ones that when I do the breakout TikTok short review of it all and so forth, the internet's gonna be on me for this one. They're gonna have some comments for me on this one. I know they will. And quite frankly, ladies and gentlemen, that's because I believe Bioshock is nearly a mediocre game. I think, you know what? Actually, let me start with the love. The love is what you hear the most about Bioshock is absolutely true. Bioshock excels in atmosphere, in environmental world design. Rapture feels like a real place. It's fully realized. It's fun to explore and see its different elements. That's all I got. That's all I got to say positive about Bioshock.
I say I'm a little thrown. I'm a little thrown here because going into this whole thing for the past month, you've been saying that you're going last.
I did think I was going to go last, but then, I just want to get this part out of the way because it's just I'm just going to get what I have to say, and then we're going to move on. And then I think I'm immediately going to jump to Connor, who I think has an opposite opinion of me. I think Bioshock is almost mediocre, in pretty much every facet of it. Let me start with gameplay. Gameplay does not feel good in this game. It feels clunky and unimpactful. The sound designs are pretty solid, but it can trick you with feelings of impact through sound design, but the shotgun has no punch to it. Other than it just kills things really fast. It does not feel good to use. It sounds great, but it does not feel good. I just generally think combat is repetitive and boring, and it's solved pretty much every combat encounter is solved the exact same way, and that is to just shoot them to death or beat them to death with your wrench. Now, there's a few like things that you can add to it to kind of make it a little bit more engaging. You can hit them with a plasmid. You can craft your build in a way to where your wrench does extra damage, which is what I was doing. And then there's a couple of other small things, but a lot of these plasmids, I think most of them are pretty useless. The most useful ones become apparent because they give them to you first. And then you just end up electrocuting everything the entire way through. And I just think gameplay-wise, this is just a very disappointing and bland video game. Like, there's nothing really special about Bioshock's gameplay mechanics. Even when they try to throw breaks into the gameplay loop with things like hacking, that immediately becomes way overused and way too tedious and way too repetitive. If there was, I like the mini game of how hacking is in this game, where it's basically it's pipes. You know, you're just pipes and you direct the water to it from a beginning to an end point, and you're on a time limit with that. That's a solid mini game to throw in there to break up the gameplay loop. But everything can be hacked, and it's the same mini game every single time. There's no variation depending upon whether you're hacking a first aid machine or a turret or a security camera or one of the flying drones or any of that. There's no variety at all in the hacking. It's the same every single time. And it just gets annoying to do, to the point to where I just started throwing money at the problem. And I think that's another part of my issues with the gameplay of this. There's no consequences in this game. This game has zero punishment to the player at all outside of a little short walk. Borderlands at least had the illusion of punishment by costing you some money every time you respawn. Now, in reality, that didn't mean anything in Borderlands because they throw so much money at you, it doesn't really matter. But here, they don't even have the decency to do that. So you're just constantly just throwing yourself at enemies because there's no other reason to do anything else. It's the fastest and most effective way to do it is to just shoot them or electrocute them and then beat them with your wrench again and again and again. And I'll be honest, I only really ever died to Big Daddies, which, okay, so the Big Daddies are 2-round fights. I fight them, I get them to half health, I die, I come back, and I kill them again. And it's just so frustrating to me that this is all they have to do. And I'm only really going this hard because Bioshock is redeemed as a classic game. It's redeemed as one of the best games ever made. 96 on Metacritic to me is outrageous. That doesn't make any sense to me. I don't think this is a bad game. I don't even truly believe it's mediocre, but it's getting there. It's really close to mediocre.
It's a 2007 96, you know?
Not acceptable. I was alive in 2007. I was playing games before and after 2007. And let me transition to narrative here, because that's really where this game hangs its hat on, you know? And I think that is the biggest disappointment of the game in its entirety. This narrative sucks. This is bad. This is the most shallow, underwritten, and poorly executed narrative. I'm specifically talking about the player character's journey. Underwritten narrative I've ever seen. Now, things like the audio diaries, how the different characters interact with each other, the intercom system where you hear people talk to each other and so forth like that, that's pretty well written. Those characters are pretty well developed. Andrew Ryan is one of gaming's best antagonists, if you want to give him that, right? And it's so disappointing to me because those themes are so strong. These themes of capitalism destroying everything, how you can have all the best promise in the world and have what should be a beautiful society turned to ruin because of greed and because of selfishness and all of these things. And how the idea of pulling yourselves up by your bootstraps is a lie. I love all of that. It's very Iron Rand. And I love all of that. But the problem is that's not the main conflict of the game. The main conflict of the game is you are just some dude who's in a plane crash, and for reasons the plane crash happened, I understand that part, yes. But you're just a dude in a plane crash trying to survive. So now we've got elements of this first-person shooter action game that it wants to be. We've got elements of the sort of survival horror that it wants to be, resource managing that it wants to do. And none of it feels very effective. This is if you've never played a video game before in your life, these are probably really cool, innovative mechanics. But I've played a bunch of video games, and I find this to be driveling slop. And then tying it into this character journey of oh, are you going to be a good guy or bad guy, dependent entirely on little sisters, is the most asinine, arbitrary fucking moral choice I've ever seen in a game ever. Are you going to murder this little girl or save her? What the fuck kind of choice is that? Of course I'm going to save her. And of course, they try to balance it out about, oh, you get more Adam if you kill her. Okay, but you also get gifts every 2 sisters that you save, and that totally balance out the extra Adam that you would have gotten. So it's not really a choice then. And on top of that, it has the gall to have 2 different endings that mean nothing, because the endings have nothing to do with the main conflict of the game. And let's get to that one. The would you kindly twist is the worst twist I've seen in games in a long time. That's a stupid twist. That is an underbaked twist. A good twist is something that recontextualizes the events of an entire story. A good twist is, hold on, Phil. A good twist is one that like makes you go, oh shit, that's what this is about. The problem with the would you kindly twist, and it's so appropriate that we're reviewing this game right after Metal Gear Solid 2, the problem with the would you kindly twist is to have the idea and the meta narrative about what is player agency. Are you as the player actually making any choices, or are you just on the rails of whatever game we decide to put you in? That only works if you actually give the player a choice. There's no choice in this game. And then as soon as the would you kindly twist happens, they do behind the scenes, off-screen brain surgery on you and completely throw it away again. Like, it may as well have just not happened. So why is it there? There is no point. God, there's a lot of spittle on my mic.
That one moment.
So I got the pop filter.
Yeah, I know. There's just no point in that twist being there. It gives zero difference to the plot. If you took it out of the plot, nothing changes. Absolutely nothing changes. But you know what would fix this, Connor? A real simple change. A really, really simple change. Let's say you're developing a video game, Connor, and you have these narrative beats that you want to play out in the order you want them to play out in, right? It's a linear game. There's no choice in like differences in how you explore your environments. You hit level 1, 2, 3, 4 in that order every single time, right? That's the structure of your game. That's fine. Plenty of masterpieces have been made like that, right? But you want to have this idea of player choice and player agency being one of your big climactic moment of the game, right? You know how you do that, Connor, effectively, is you give players the idea, you insert that they did have a choice at any point in this. And you know how you hide that to make the player still complete that narrative the way you want them to? You know how you hide that? You make it the most obvious thing that you would do anyways, because more than likely, the very first time you hear would you kindly is would you kindly please pick up that radio. You as the player are, of course, going to pick up the radio. You know what would make this twist interesting? Let the player wait 45 seconds and then drop the door and let them leave without the radio. Because they're still going to go through the events of the game exactly the same way, but now they don't have, what's his name? Atlas Frank Fontaine. Now they don't have Frank Fontaine in your ear the whole time. So now it is player agency. So now it is choice. The game doesn't change. It's just now it's a little harder to get through because you don't have somebody in your ear telling you what to do next. But it's still easy to get, like, it's still the same path. You know, that instantly makes the twist worth it. Just that small little difference would make it actually have a statement. But instead, it's this flaccid dick, underbaked, underthought premise of, oh, are you as the player really have any free will? Yeah, motherfucker, I turn your game off. That's the free will choice that you give me. I either play the game or I don't, because there's no other choices to do. I can't sit on top of the lighthouse and wait for rescue. I can't ignore the radio. I can't not come in contact with Big Daddies. Like, these aren't choices that you're giving me. So the whole twist is so arbitrary and useless. It may as well not even be there. And the fact that they wave it in front of your face like they are some great gaming auteur, like they are doing something with this, is the most insulting part of it. That's the part where it's like, oh, you think I'm a fucking idiot. You don't think I'm an intelligent person at all. And that feeds into my complaints about gameplay, because the gameplay is just as brain dead as the thoughts behind this narrative. Connor,
There's you.
My question
Yes.
that I wanted to ask, but Tavin wouldn't answer my question. He wouldn't shut the fuck up. He said, "Hold on a second, Phil." I was like, would the twist of the would you kindly be more impactful had we not already known it was coming?
In the moment, I would have been like, "Oh shit, that's crazy." But you give me 45 minutes to think about it, and I'd still feel the same way.
I don't know. I just feel sure I would agree with you that it's not a very impactful twist because we've experienced that in a perfect parallel for MGS2, right? Where it actually is a good version of that. But the fact that that's on the same level of like the most well-known twist in things as like Bruce Willis was dead the whole time in The Sixth Sense. Fucking
I just saw the movie 7, that ending.
yeah,
But those are good twists.
Fucking what's in the box?
Those are good twists that are well thought out. It doesn't matter if you know the twist or not; they still work. Like and on re-examination, this is my second time playing Bioshock. I didn't think the twist was that great the first time either, and now I think it's awful. Like. I genuinely think this is a terrible twist. Like it doesn't matter if I knew it going in beforehand or not. What's poppin', players? So obviously Connor's audio was muted for his entire portion of the review, so we're just going to intersplice a quick cut right here so he can get his thoughts off uninterrupted real quick, and then we'll cut back to the real review where the audio gets fixed fairly shortly after this. So real quick, Connor, what did you think of Bioshock?
Taking it from the top, my thoughts on Bioshock are that it, in the grand scheme of things, is an overrated game, with more looking at it how it was released back in the day. Because now, you're left with a game that has a fun combat system that's lacking a great amount of depth. It kind of fulfills that purpose with plasmids, allowing you to do more than just run and gun. But the issue is that, first of all, you never really, in the throes of combat, feel the need to switch out all that often. You usually have a gun in your hand, so you end up using that to take them out, rather than, sometimes afterwards thinking, well, I probably should use a plasmid, or, maybe at some point before the fight, during the fight, you're like, wait, I can burn this guy, and I'll do that. Very often, you don't feel super incentivized to use them, especially because there's not much of a negative to dying in that game. You basically, just get sent back a little bit, and then you walk a little bit back to where you were before, and the enemies still have their same damage from when you last were encountering them. So, the guns feel nice to use, and there are fun plasmids to use as well. It's just, their function within the game, it's much cooler of a concept than it is in terms of practicality. Now, that kind of extends to, which is more a conceptual thing, which is the style of a game, the setting of it, the tone, all of which Bioshock nails. Tavin would have said so in his point of the review, and I agreed with him. The 1960s era style use of music and atmosphere, people always seem to like that. Going off of Fallout, people like it when they do it there, and the futuristic take it takes on it. This one basically does the same exact thing, just taking it in, it's being set in the actual 1960s rather than a future that's based off of it. And, it sucks you into that world, along with all of the audio recordings that you get that allow you to become a nerd with characters, enamored, or you start to like characters that you don't really actually see in the game. They're either dead, or they won't be along the ride that long, or maybe they die very soon after you meet them. But despite that, it feels like a lived-in place. And all of the shit that ends up happening to make Rapture as crazy of a whack job place as it is because of that downward spiral that's given to you through environmental storytelling and just outright narrative storytelling through those audio recordings that I was talking about. That also showed itself in the designs of, the guns. Obviously, they're era guns, but the upgrades you get to them all have cool little physical changes to them that, once again, work within the setting that is Rapture. The narrative is usually what's talked about a lot due to its big twist, which I still find is entertaining. It doesn't seem like it really is the most thought out, because it's not really. It doesn't really dive that much into the intricacies of brainwashing and conditioning. It's more just for the purpose of the famous twist of "Would you kindly," which when you take away the fact that it's centered around a cool character like Andrew Ryan, or the moment twist back when it was released in 2007, I want to say, it still holds up pretty well. It just, that's one of those elements that isn't as good as people seem to remember it, which leads to this kind of overrated view the game has taken on as years have gone by. Yeah, I mean, other than that, I think we'll just get right back to the full conversation that we were having with the gang.
Phil, it is your first time playing. How did you feel about Bioshock your first time through?
You know, I didn't dislike my time to the level that it seems Tavin did. I looked at this as kind of the precursor to kind of like the arcane style games, minus like some of the stealth elements. Fucking microphone's falling down. Anyway,
You're not getting picked up. Oh, are you fucking kidding?
What's
Oh,
happening?
wait, maybe that was on.
Go? Yeah? Uh-oh. Phil, talk.
Oh, no.
Phil, talk, please.
hello.
Oh, he's
Oh,
done.
that's not that.
Hello,
That's not real
hello,
Phil.
hello.
That's not real Phil. Okay, got it. I think we're okay.
So
We got
we're all good?
PTSD from
Tavin
last
didn't
time.
fuck it up?
I was about to cry so fucking hard.
Anyway, so to me, the whole would you kindly twist, like, sure, it's not as good as the one in MGS2. Straightforward, like, it's not as good. For me, I'm more into the speech that Andrew Ryan gives you in that confrontation.
Yeah.
Even though like I've seen that like done to death. Like there's a really good video from Hey Ash, What You Playing, where they like literally just reenact that, and it's really funny.
I guess let me reiterate real quick my point about the writing. Dialogue is super well written.
Yeah.
Story is not. The story is poorly written.
Yeah.
Continue.
And I'll also agree with Connor that Frank Fontaine / Atlas is a very very compelling villain to hate. Very easily hateable. I did want to kind of shut him up, and you do if you beat him at the end, you know. I think overall this story that they gave us was I have to agree with Tavin, not great. And also Tavin kind of hit the nail on the head for me, where dialogue was very, very well written, at least in my opinion, as opposed to like the overarching story being, you know, you're in a plane crash, you go down into this thing and down into Rapture, I should say, this underwater city. And I liked Tavin's ideas where like you have where you kind of give the player more of a choice, and it does explore that story of like player agency more thoroughly, where like, oh, maybe you don't pick up the radio, right? Maybe you don't even go down to Rapture and you just wait for rescue. And it's like one of those silly like endings. Like I think of the ending in Prey, where you can literally just take the escape pod and abandon it. That's kind of where I think about that.
Far Cry 4, where you sit at the table for 20 minutes and just wait. A Far Cry game did this better than Bioshock. Come on.
I have disagreements with that, but go ahead. I'm going to argue from your position. Sorry, Phil.
No, go ahead. I liked the combat in this game from what's the word I'm looking for? I was going to say room to room, but that's not exactly what I mean.
Moment to moment.
Moment to moment. Thank you. I don't know why I had brain fart there. But the splicers fighting them versus fighting the big daddies, I feel like I kind of just turn my brain off when fighting the big daddies, where like I'm literally just I'm playing Ring Around the Rosie around like a random pillar that I can just avoid shots for, and kind of just pepper them up. And like I heavily used the like shotgun, where like I would just shoot them with a shotgun over and over. And then when I had to reload in that, I would switch to my plasmid for shock, and then I would pepper them up with the crossbow. Right. I think this game would be a lot better if you could kind of like dual wield, like if you have the pistol in one hand and then you use the shock plasmid in the other. But then I feel like other games ended up doing that further down the road, right? Maybe not necessarily
does
Bioshock
Infinite do
games, 'cause
that?
I haven't played any other ones, but like other games of this style where you have the fighting ability in your left hand and you have the gun in the right hand, right?
Yeah.
Where I think that would just play a lot better.
Does Infinite do that? I don't remember.
Infinite, you always have your gun out, but you can use your plasmids whenever.
At the same time. Oh,
Yeah, you just
okay.
press
So
the button and you use
the
it
hand's not
immediately.
out, but you just throw it
Yeah.
out. Okay.
You just throw it out.
I feel like that would fix a lot of the combat issues I have with this game.
I would use plasmids more, like I did in Infinite.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's when eventually we do get into Infinite down the line. I think I'll enjoy that experience a lot more. Because from what I hear, either you're a huge Bioshock fan in general, you like that's the first one, right? The second one is you love Bioshock but you don't like Bioshock Infinite, and then the third camp is you thought the first couple Bioshock games were just fine and then you loved Infinite, right?
I'm probably in that
Those
third.
are the kind of the camps
I've
I've
always
heard on the internet.
I've always thought Infinite was the best of the series by a pretty good lead. Like the worst part about Infinite is like sort of the ham-fisted politics of it that are way better executed in this game.
And the story's bad.
No, I think the story's good. The Elizabeth and Booker DeWitt story, that's a good story.
Their characters work well together, yeah, but still story.
I love
story.
I love the final twist in that game. I think it's good.
I don't know.
Love is strong,
probably
but
the
I really
Bioshock
like it.
that
Yeah.
I know the least about.
Yeah, you're right. It's good.
Oh no, sorry, no, that's not the Bioshock. I know the least about Bioshock 2.
Just a big daddy.
But yep. Anyway, that
Cool.
is what I have to say about the combat. I liked Connor mentioning the different plasmids. The ones that I kind of rocked with were the shock, the flame, the telekinesis, and then the like Big Daddy hypnotize thing. So I would throw something at a Big Daddy and it would fight for me.
Those
I
are
thought that was really cool.
I think the big four that you would use. Connor brought up a couple that can be used in certain scenarios, but for the most part, you can. I mean, not even you don't even need the telekinesis, but like, yeah, the others will get you through the rest of the game, no problem.
Well, telekinesis is really useful because there's a lot of items like hidden on top of things, or like in like a grate or something.
Yeah.
So I liked that one a lot. And then when I did end up like getting more slots for plasmids, I did get like the bees. I didn't really use the wind blast. That was one of the ones I like didn't use. I didn't use the wind blast and the one where you can like instantly make all the security stuff go to somebody.
Yeah, I didn't use that one.
No, it's not good.
I just hacked everything.
It's perfectly usable if you just hack a camera, right?
It's better if
camera does the exact same thing. But anyway, I really liked my like game, like my playing of this game. I put it on the Portal, so that worked really, really well. And then I for a lot of it, I just would just kind of tune the story out because it just wasn't that interesting to me. But like I had the subtitles on, so I was like reading the dialogue, and I was like, man, I'm into this.
Yeah.
And when I was listening to the game, I thought a lot of the voice acting was really good. Specifically, I really liked Atlas and Frank Fontaine's voice. I thought they were like menacing when he was Frank, and then like I just really wanted to help Atlas, you know.
Thanks, boyo.
Andrew Ryan, Tenenbaum, like
Andrew Ryan was fantastic, probably the best performance in the game.
A transatlantic voice.
I also really liked what was her name? Tenenbaum? Is that who was you were helping her with the
right?
little sisters?
Tenenbaum's the one with the little sisters.
Tenenbaum.
Who's the who's like the botanist?
Yeah, I can't remember her name because she dies.
Yeah, she just dies.
Spoiler.
Yes, I don't remember.
Don't really.
I don't remember.
Su Chong's good.
Yes, I liked him too.
Evil, cruel scientist.
Yeah, very, very like just cruel in that like cruel analytical like you know I stuck a needle in this rabbit's eye, you know it's blind now, right? Like,
as it tends to do.
It's not a specific example, but that's kind of the vibe I was getting from that. But those are kind of where the positives end for me. I did also really like the hacking, but there were towards the end, I was just getting kind of very repetitive.
Just auto hack.
I just started buying things. Yeah,
I did too. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would buy the auto hack things that you could just let me use one of these. I would like stock up on those anytime.
Not even that. I would just buy the hack.
Oh, okay. No, I didn't do that.
I would hack the machine.
I maybe did that once because money was a precious resource for me because I would try to buy ammo and make sure I was stocked up on ammo, which you know. Connor, you made a really good point earlier where you get to that point where you were trying to cure your hypnosis and it makes you cycle through all of the different plasmids. And I liked that segment, but then it kind of called attention to how I was playing the game. And it was me using the plasmids very secondarily to my arsenal of weapons. And I think this game would have been stronger had there been more of a focus on the plasmids. There were some like kind of cool puzzle solving elements with the plasmids. Like you had to melt some ice with the fire. You had to you could electrify water to kill some early enemies, which was kind of neat.
It was really annoying me how like that would only work in literal pools of water and not just like puddles.
I think one of my least favorite segments in the game were kind of like back to back, and it was the finding the pieces of the Big Daddy suit.
Didn't like that either.
And then when you have to like kind of guide the little sister to the end, and it's like I kind of didn't understand why. Okay, so I kind of heal this little sister, right, and I make her good again, but she's still stopping all these dead bodies and poking them with needles and doing all this random shit that is obviously like,
yeah,
it's just
so
weird.
It's almost as if player agency doesn't matter in this game.
No, they specifically mention when she first does that, Tenenbaum comes on the radio, and she laments about how they were so manipulated.
Yes, they give you a reason, Connor, but that shouldn't them just telling you so that they can have this gameplay moment of where you stop and shoot things.
That literally,
but that's not reflective of your choices in the game at all.
It's entirely reflective of what happens in the narrative, which is that this mental conditioning game isn't just obviously it gets solved in the sense that the game itself gets rid of it, but through like mental conditioning and then doing like a special Deus Ex Machina of, oh, here's this potion you can drink that completely eradicates the after effects of, what's left from your mental conditioning. But these are just little girls, and they're just walking around immediately, instinctively in the same way you were taught to do a task, doing a task without really thinking about it.
Yeah.
It kind of gets the whole entire thing of how this environment has rid people of their autonomy in many ways, which to your point earlier, I guess as we go to the general reviews.
But then why make the choice? Why is there a choice? Because if you're killing little sisters, a little sister still comes out and does all those things. So, like, if I'm saving them, what is the difference? The little 35-second cutscene at the end that sucks? It's a bad cutscene. Like, so why am I doing it?
I hear where you're coming from there, Connor, and I like your reasoning for it, but it comes across from a gameplay perspective. It comes across as an excuse.
We are video games. We need to take advantage of this medium as a interactive medium. And Bioshock fails to do that on every level.
But in the grander scheme of that, right? Because usually you're the one to say this. But at the time when the game was made, that was when you had game after game. I mean, Metal Gear Solid. Most games are not Metal Gear Solid. Most games are not.
They're not.
Exactly.
But this game went into development well after Metal Gear Solid.
That doesn't matter, though. Most games, after Metal Gear Solid, before Metal Gear Solid, you go through and you do the mission objectives that are given to you by the guy in the radio or your best friend or whatever the fuck game you're talking about. And you just do them, right? That has always been rote. Metal Gear Solid might change that up a little bit, but every other game still, you follow the objective that's written to you. Yes. And in this one, it does that same exact thing, but undermines you by saying, "Oh, well, you're not actually doing these things."
I can jump to other games. Shadow of the Colossus did this theme better. Final Fantasy VII did this.
Shadow of the Colossus just hid about whether you were doing something that was objectively evil or for a good reason. But it was kind of also obvious that it was bad in the sense that you're serving an ancient voice that's, hey, kill these things.
Yes, and it has an emotional impact on the player because the player is doing it. There is no emotion in Bioshock. You do not feel any type of way when you bash Andrew Ryan over the head with a golf club.
Well, because that's the entire thing, is that you're playing a nameless protagonist, a nameless guy. Shadow of the Colossus, it's a person. They have a very personal reason of why they're going through the story.
That makes this even worse, because if you go the silent protagonist route, that means you forcibly put the player in the protagonist's shoes. The protagonist is now effectively the player. You are not Solid Snake. You are not Cloud. That's a character. You know, Cloud kind of roams somewhere in the middle because of where 1996 is or whatever. But you are not Cloud. You are not Solid Snake. But you are the Bioshock guy, because this isn't a character. So you have to insert yourself into it. And then they just consistently throughout the entire game bash you over the head. Make the choice. Make a choice. Make a choice.
What you're
only to tell you that there is no choice. And if we're being honest, there is no choice at all anyway.
Go into what you're going to say.
I do just want to say, because like you mentioned, you kind of said something about doing something and like, oh, it wants you to feel bad for it.
Sure, I said that?
I said that.
Oh, yeah.
No, you said something about like, you don't feel bad about bashing Ranger Ryan over the head. And I agree with you. I don't. I feel like the only time in this game where I would feel bad is if I took the route where I'm killing the little sisters, right? And that would make me feel bad. Like, and that's a choice that it gives you. But like we talked about, why would you make that choice whenever the other choice is so obvious?
Yeah,
you know?
there's no reason to make the choice of killing little sisters. There's a reason to kill Colossus. Is it kind of thin or whatever? Yes, but they do enough with the presentation in Shadow of the Colossus, with the art of Shadow of the Colossus, with the cinematography and the direction and the lighting of Shadow of the Colossus to tell you that, oh, this is somebody this character cares about, so he's going to go on this journey and go and do these terrible things, and you're along for the ride because you're that guy through the medium of video game, right? Like, but they do enough to make that work. Bioshock is not the case. Like, you don't care that you're killing splicers. That's not a big deal to you. But, you know, juxtapose that against The Last of Us, and I know that's further down the line, but The Last of Us, you kill a clicker, you hear its dying breaths, it sounds like it's getting words out. That there's still a human in there. You feel it, right? You don't feel that way when you kill a splicer. You don't really feel that way when you kill a Big Daddy. You feel kind of bad when you kill a Big Daddy because the little sister starts crying, but then you immediately wave your little magic hand over and she's fine. So what are we doing? This is the most, like, simpleton version of empathy and of deep narrative I've ever seen.
Tavin, you brought up the worst example that you possibly could have with Last of Us. In the sense
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't feel bad for killing clickers.
Or even regular enemies where the narrative tries to make you feel like that's an element of it, but it never is.
No, I disagree. Well, when you shoot a regular dude in the throat and he starts choking on his own blood to death, you go, fuck, that's dark. Like
no. This is again the issue with.
Then I just question your humanity, Connor.
Dude,
like, because come on, dude, what are we doing?
You've always over-exaggerated like that impact in Last of Us Part 2. Most people don't give a shit. I'm just saying most people. I certainly don't. And the fact that it then tries to tie that in with named characters when you just did it to a bunch of unnamed people because they didn't necessarily matter because they're in the confines of the game.
Well, you're on a game. You're on a game that I'm not talking about right now. That's the same thing in the first game. The first game does the same thing. Sure, they're not going, Sarah, when you shoot somebody in the face. Okay, whatever. I don't think the big name thing is a big thing. Like, I think that's a weak argument, right? You feel bad because you shoot someone in the throat and they start choking to death on their own blood. That feels bad. You blast a clicker in the face and or you sneak up on a clicker while they're kind of sleeping and you can hear them in pain going, it hurt. There's like just like simple small little phrases of there if you're actually paying attention to the details in the game design that like make you feel something, make you go, oh shit, that's crazy. Now, it doesn't change how you're going to behave because why would you? It's a survival game. But in here, the splicers are all just evil, crazy maniacs. They may as well be Arkham bad guys. Like, what are we doing? And then you want to wave it in my face as if like I've actually been doing the bad thing all wrong. You want to smack me on the nose like I'm a fucking dog? Fuck you. This is not not fuck you. Fuck the game.
No, but bad thing of killing splicers. When does it ever make you feel bad for that?
Exactly.
Yeah, because you wouldn't. Why waste time on that?
But the game wants you to feel like, oh, these are victims of things or whatever, and it wants to do that same thing in these other games that we're talking about. But then it wants to make you feel bad for killing a Big Daddy, like you feel bad for killing a Colossus in Shadow of the Colossus, but you don't because you know objectively this is the right thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Like the Big Daddy, I understand that, but the game never tries to show that you should feel sympathetic for these people in the sense that you feel bad for killing them.
The game presents splicers as victims. They are victims of their environment. That is in the way that you feel bad for them. But the game does nothing other than the talking that the game does to you. The splicers don't seem like they don't want to do what they're doing. Well, the splicers just seem like psychopathic maniacs. So of course I'm going to kill them. The game almost feels like it wants you to go non-violent. It almost feels that way. You don't because there's no choice to. But it feels like it makes you feel like that's an option.
The game at never point does that at all. Most of the characters that we see are shown to be ruthless, selfish. There's like one guy on the radio who's not, and even then he still kind of talks about like killing people without that much of a regard for, the humanity of it, and talks more about, oh, I care about rapture, not really the people in it. It was more the place and what it represents, rather than at any point thinking that you're sympathetic to these people. Even Tenenbaum, it talks about how like the most sympathetic character is, oh, she sympathized more with the Nazis.
Connor, take that a step forward. Yeah, Andrew Ryan is some guy who's put this wondrous environment together. Put this I can't think of the fucking words that I want to use. He's put this like wonderful place together, but he's tricked them. These people are victims. Everybody you come across in this game is a victim of Andrew Ryan. Like that's how this works out. So yes, you're right. He only cares about the grand scope of what Rapture is and the promise of Rapture, but he doesn't do anything to fulfill that promise. So all these people come here, they move their families here, and then get victimized by just the thought capitalism of it all. And my problem is that's more interesting than the actual narrative that they force down your throat.
Well, two different things. First of all, the capitalism element can be tied into the fact that it got to a point where they're breeding human beings for the sole purpose of self-interest, which is Frank Fontaine's purpose with your main character. But beyond that, back to Andrew Ryan, his entire point was just to create a place where they're free from the masters. He's always very apparently been, you are looking after yourself and your own interests. And if you fail to do so, that's on you and nobody else. That was from the get-go his entire message of Rapture.
But then he gatekeeps and hoards all the resources for himself.
Yeah, because
Andrew Ryan is just as much of a con man as Frank Fontaine. They are the exact same in their motivations and their actions.
Yeah, he's a hypocrite.
They do the exact same thing. So the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps is a lie. He is lying to people when he tells people that.
He's right about that. It just he leaves out the part that includes himself. Where if he can make something happen, regardless of the ethics of it, well, then they happen because it's the concept of power is all that matters. And he saw that through to the very end, even with his own death, because he was in a situation where he couldn't escape. And rather than be like pleading, he was like, oh, well, I might be being killed, but I'm being killed by you, a slave, while everything I've done has been of my own volition. You're just a puppet. So really, who's the pathetic one here? He thinks he lived by his ideals. He didn't. Because at the end of the day, he started interfering when it no longer went his way.
I see that scene differently.
Yeah?
He's pleading with your character the entire way up. All the way up to his he's in a tower, right? He's at like the top of a tower. All the way up his tower, he's pleading with you, but he's doing it in different ways. He's not doing it in the way of like, please don't kill me, please don't do that. He's not like begging in that sense. But the whole a man chooses a slave, whatever. Obeys. That's pleading. It's just done in a different way. He's trying to empower the character, you, the player, into not killing him.
But
the character is a slave, so he's going to kill him. But he's trying to break you from it, is what he's doing.
No, he's not. The only reason you kill him is because he specifically tells you to. He stops you from killing him, and then he redirects it back to, oh, well, I'm going to make you do your original purpose, but it's because I'm telling you to, because you're just a slave. You're doing what other people do. Yeah, because he tells you, stop, back up, run away, turn around. And then he hands you the golf club and says, kill. And then he even, says it afterwards. When he's beating you, he says, kill! It's his entire.
So then he's not in a position to where he doesn't have control.
He had control, but that was the whole point, is that he was trying to prove his lifestyle, his whole entire point, which is that men choose their own destiny. And the fact that regardless of how things played out from then on, he was in charge of what happened to him. He's crazy. He still thinks there's...
that false flag because he dies.
No, but he's crazy because he thinks that he thinks Rapture's in a position where it's still salvageable. Like it's not fallen into disrepair. He still thinks that, oh, once I get rid of you and Frank Fontaine, then I can start getting things back up.
Then why doesn't he?
Because he's insane. He thinks he's so obsessed with delusions of grandeur that he thinks that his power is all that matters. And as long as he has,
if I'm to subscribe to this theory, Connor, that wouldn't force the slave to then turn on me and kill myself. I would then force the slave to turn around and go get Frank. Because I have goals higher than this little Peddleton Frank Fontaine.
Do you think that he thinks that like he just can't be killed, and that's why he like orders you to do it? Or
he certainly can, because he did it in the after the first hit. He still tells you to kill.
Those hits are also fucking lame too.
They are, yeah.
That was poor sound design in that.
It was not, no. Yeah, more impactful. The moment itself is more impactful than those kinds of
It's just like a wet thud.
It is,
all right, well, I guess.
You're not even doing the...
Should have been a good crack.
Yeah, like hitting like a watermelon, Like
the golf club breaks. When a golf club breaks, there's a sound to it, and you don't hear anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. I disagree. Like, I just think... the structure, the presentation, all of it, just like it's showboating. It's the narrative going, look how impressive we are. But if you actually examine the elements, it's not that impressive. Like the game thinks it's saying something, but it's not.
It's not super impressive, no. But part of me feels like
you're ate with that, bro.
What's that?
It thought it ate with that.
Yeah, literally. Like it's like, all right,
it did. We're just like going back to what Phil said earlier. Well, do we think that because we know about it and the twist is kind of taken away from you?
I think it probably would have been more impactful to me personally if I didn't know it was coming.
Certainly, yeah. I think for
Sure,
most people that
Like,
would have
there's
been
no
the
way
case.
for me to know that.
The internet spoiled this fucking twist for me. I've never been exposed to that twist in a natural way, right? Like
I
like
was.
playing the game. Cool. But like I still attest that like sure, even if I would have been like wow for like 30 minutes and then I just would have kept thinking about it and I would have had a water cooler moment of going wait, but that doesn't matter because like you didn't engage me the player at all. And there's been plenty of games who have engaged me the player to do things before this and after this.
Like aside from Metal Gear, what?
And my point, Shadow of the Colossus, Final Fantasy
Shadow of the Colossus
VII.
doesn't do that though.
Shadow of the
really.
Colossus does do this.
Shadow of the Colossus takes it on the head of like what exactly you're doing, but it's kind of obvious it's bad. Back when I watched my brother play it when we were playing,
Yes,
on
it's
PS2,
obvious it's bad, but you, the player, still do it anyway.
Yeah, because you're trying to save your love. There's a
Exactly.
specific character
That
reason.
engages the player to go do it.
Yeah.
That is what this is trying to
inherently
do, but it does it better.
That inherently is more of a motivation than Bioshock gives you.
Oh, it's certainly more of a motivation, but that's the point. Is they give this guy a character. They do establish out the gate. He draws on something from his past about how he's built for greatness. It introduces very early that he has a family. It's not.
He doesn't have a family though.
But he thinks
That's
so.
the whole
That-
twist.
that's
that
the
was
whole.
all fake. It wasn't real. It
I'm not
wasn't
saying
his
it's
family.
that's not. He thought it was real at the time though, and defined him as a person with at least something there. Now, I'm not defending the depth of it. The depth is not there. It only because at the end of the day,
That makes it
in
worse.
function. But because in function, he serves as the silent protagonist who usually would do things without question. Taking that aspect of we do things without question and saying, well, it really was only because we were being told to do it.
That's making
rather
a
than
mountain out
anything
of a
else.
molehill.
Not
Like,
really.
Yeah, that's.
There's a character there. You just want more depth to be calling him a character. But he's
He's
still
still a character.
He is still a
but
character.
it's not real. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't express anything. There's no emotion. It's all put on you, the player. What are you, the player, feeling? And me, the player, am feeling nothing.
Because the
So
game
you are failing.
Because there's a lot of games that you play as somebody that doesn't really have a strong personality or expression, and
Great.
it doesn't do anything with the
great. That's poor for those games too.
But that's the thing
that moment where you go into like the dance club and you like follow the kind of like memory of this woman into like the back room. That was supposed to be like your mom, right?
No, those
She's
are
like a
different.
stripper?
Those are different moments of what you have experienced in Rapture before coming through and breaking through your hypnosis. So those are real experiences that your character has actually had. The flashes on screen of like a farmhouse or a family or whatever, those are fake. But the visions you get in game, those are real. Those are real things that your
Okay.
character has seen before.
Because I thought like maybe they were trying to say like Frank Fontaine had sex with a stripper and then like you're his son or something. But then I know he says that I'm not your dad or something like that.
felt like your dad. We don't know where your character came from.
Does it matter? Like,
If you're talking about the themes of manipulation under capitalism, I mean, today I'll bring in real world stuff right now. There was a Supreme Court ruling a couple of years ago on the Mars Candy Company because they were benefiting from literal slave labor in Africa. And they were basically decided upon, well, you're not culpable for it because it's a part of the supply chain. You aren't actively, facilitating child slavery. You're just
buying the things from the slavers.
yeah,
Okay.
horrible, bad. But it's this unethical nature of human will, human what's the word? Self. Will you make your own choices?
Agency.
Human agency being taken away from you because a larger power that has more power in whatever system you're talking about. In the concept of Bioshock, it's Rapture, which is, every man is their own master, power reigns supreme. It allows you to do unethical things like that. So the fact that he has those elements of, the whole twist involving him being from Rapture and being mentally manipulated, I do think that has its place within the themes of the game, while in addition having its place in the concept of, well, you are doing things as a silent protagonist where most games you would just do it because, the game is making you do it, but this one takes that and just alters it slightly. It's not as amazing as like...
But that would only work if the player actually has any amount of choice in what's going on here.
Mhm.
And it doesn't. It actually fakes choice with the little sisters. Like, that's not a choice. I mean, it is.
It's a
but
morality system.
yeah, but like, like, that's my thing with this game is every single part and every single point it tries to make, I shrug my shoulders and go, so? And granted, I guess you could do that with any game. But like, or any piece of art, right? But like this one, I just think is so underdeveloped. Like I don't think their punches are not landing here. Where the other games I've named so far, those punches do land. They are effective. They do make me feel something. and then it's all. I think it's all like the entire package is reflective upon itself because the gameplay has that same mindset. The hacking has that same mindset of like, all right, I'm just gonna go through these motions and kind of do the things or whatever. And like ideally that would like boost it up, but like it again, the game thinks it's grander than it is. So like this sense of grandiosity like about it and the praise it gets online and the praise that the culture has put upon it, I think is totally undeserved. This is going in the bucket as one of the most overrated games of all time for me, if not like top 3 maybe. And my you brought up like, oh, for the time, like, and how I'm usually that guy. My point is when I bring up for the time, it's because we don't know any better. We knew better by this point. And on top of that, a lot of the not knowing any better is counterbalanced by impact and influence.
Again,
and
I
would argue, let me just finish this. I would argue if you remove Bioshock from history, not that much changes.
No, I agree. Yeah. I do think you're overstating how much impact Metal Gear should have in the sense that, well, Metal Gear did it. And
Metal
so
Gear
everyone
Solid
else
1 has that amount of impact for narrative. There is a pre and post Metal Gear Solid 1 narrative.
No, I refuse that still to this day. 2, definitively. 1, I think that's
one
overblown.
is more impactful, and again, this is because of the times.
And more impactful.
what is more impactful for its narrative than 2 is.
I think it's more impactful for the game it is in terms of its design rather than necessarily narrative.
One said, hey, we can be at this level of quality. Two said, hey, we can be this bold.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between those two things.
But in this case, in terms of the boldness of the would you kindly aspect, it has more similarities to 2 as opposed to 1.
It's trying to be 2, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fellatioing itself like it is.
Is it trying to be 2?
It's trying to be 2.
In what way specifically?
In the whole would you kindly twist, it's trying to be the Raiden twist. Of like, oh, are you really a player in this game? Or do you really have any real agency, this, that, and the third? And now you could argue with me that like you don't have any agency in Metal Gear Solid 2 as well, because the game beat for beat plays out like it is. But it's just more effective at making you feel like there's choices because how you handle each combat encounter is entirely based on you. Do you sneak around them? Do you murder everybody in the room? Do you knock everybody in the room out? Are you going a pacifist run? Are you going a murderer run or all of this? That's not a choice in Bioshock. The gameplay does not reflect what you're trying to come across in the narrative at all. It's two separate things. They are not married together. And if you want to be effective in this medium, you have to marry them. Because otherwise, why are we in this medium? Bioshock would be better as an audiobook series.
I kind of like that. I like that idea.
It would be better. No, not better necessarily.
No,
Depending
it'd
on
be
how it
better.
was structured.
Does anybody have anything else that they want to pull up?
No, I think we nailed it.
All right. Fantastic. Let's head all over to our rankings. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, we rank every game amongst the other games in the series. Remember that you can, in fact, see every review that we've done in the playlist in the description down below. As of right now, I'm going to go ahead and just continue naming them off because we're not that deep to where I don't feel the need to do that. There are 30 titles on the list as of right now. This will be titled 31, or the 31th game that we've put into the list. Excuse me. Number 30, Fable. Number 29, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Number 28, Prey. Number 27, Tomb Raider. Number 26, Alan Wake. Number 25, Batman Arkham Asylum. Number 24, Uncharted Drake's Fortune. Number 23, Halo Combat Evolved. 22, Dead Cells. 21, Shadow of the Colossus. 20, Mario 64. 19, Resident Evil 4. 18, Portal. 17, Banjo-Kazooie. 16, Ratchet and Clank. 15, Pokemon Soul Silver. 14, Severed. 13, Resident Evil. 12, Chrono Trigger. 11, Dishonored. 10, Metal Gear Solid. 9, Shovel Knight. 8, Portal 2. 7, Doom 2016. 6, Yakuza 0. 5, Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. 4, Hades. 3, Final Fantasy 7. 2, The Last of Us, and number 1, God of War, Ragnarok. Who wants to start?
Who knows where it's going on the list? Anyone change their minds, still thinking about it?
I've got a range.
I have an exact spot.
You hit us. Give me your exact spot.
Well, it took a lot. It took some thinking. I had 2 games that I was debating which putting it. There was a game I was centering the pick around, the position around, and I'm decided to put it under it. And so my advocation is for Bioshock to be at the new number 18, below Portal, above Resident Evil 4.
Whoa,
That's
dude.
insane.
Mm-hmm.
That is insanity.
No,
That's
that's
fucking
not
A
crazy.
large
That's
reason
too
due to the
high,
fact is that
Connor.
Resident Evil 4, by the time you're like at near the end in the last act, you want it to be over, and it's more fun moment to moment gameplay. Not by a large amount, but more some of these other games.
I strongly
Dead Cells being
disagree.
the greatest argument against that.
I
But
strongly disagree. I think Resident Evil 4 plays way better and way more fun to play than this game. Wow. Phil, where are you at?
I am almost like. Where do you said the new number 19? You said.
Then the new number 19, yeah. Above Resident Evil 4, below Portal.
Am I wrong?
So
Yeah.
I'm at the
Yeah.
new number 29. I'm exactly 10 spots below it.
Low Prey?
Below Prey, above DK Tropical Freeze.
I'm going to take it a step further. I think this should go below Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. I only really feel this way because Donkey Kong, in my opinion, is rated too low. Donkey Kong should be up around the Batman level. I think that is a more solid game. It achieves what it's trying to do better. I think it like in terms of like intention and execution, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze does that exactly right. Bioshock, for me, the intention is clear. The execution falls very, very flat for me. And on top of that, Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, sure, yeah, a generic platformer in my opinion, but it's still more fun to play than this. This game is not fun. Like not this. It's not like annoying to play. It's not like bad to play. It's just so like bland and kind of meh. That it's not what I'm going to remember. But what I am going to remember is its attempts at this meta narrative of player agency and how badly it fumbles that bag. And then of course how much it thinks so highly of itself. And the fact that you fell so far and think so highly, like you think you're fucking killing it, but you're really not. Like to me, that makes it even worse. So for me, I would like. Probably objectively, this game is better than Tomb Raider. It's probably objectively better than Alan Wake, but Alan Wake is actually cooking, like with its art and with its means. It just doesn't have the execution on the gameplay side, right? But this game, I don't really think has that execution on the gameplay side either. It does it better, but it doesn't. It's not that much better. Like you said, the it's close between this and 4. This is close to me and Alan Wake. This is like just one step above gameplay pure, one step above Alan Wake. But narratively, it's so far behind what Alan Wake is doing. And Alan Wake is only as high as it is because of what it is doing artistically for me. So yeah, this would be the new number 30 for me. Below Donkey Kong, above Fable. I think I'd probably still keep it in the C tier though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know what? You actually you made a good case for Donkey Kong. I just wasn't thinking about how much like the vibrant colors of Donkey Kong, the music and how much it slaps.
Those silhouette levels are beautiful.
Yeah, they're very well like designed visually and like mechanically. Yeah, okay. I'm good with it being the new number 30, being above Fable, between Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze and Fable.
Well, anytime someone criticizes this list for that specific purpose, I'll stand back.
You don't have anything to say to any of the points made here.
No, I don't think they're, the range that Bioshock occupies, the best argument would be to put it below Resident Evil 4. And Mario 64, I guess you could argue for its importance, but everything below that, no chance at all.
When what's funny is I beat this game like 2-3 weeks. I think it was 3 weeks ago I beat this game.
I beat
And
it a month ago at this point, or
the longer I've had to stew on it, the further it's fallen in my mind. When I rolled credits, I was like, yeah, probably below Shadow of the Colossus, like somewhere right around there. Maybe Dead Cells would be above it or whatever. But then the more I thought about it, and the more I thought about like the presentation and what it was saying and how it was saying it, I was like, oh no, you really didn't hit the mark in the way you think. Like. And gameplay mechanically, like I really just think you fell flat. A lot of these games get boosted up above Bioshock for me because they're not trying to do what Bioshock is trying to do.
I think you're being way, way too critical and harsh on that, but that's how it lands.
We say that, but you still think Batman is the worst game we've played. And
It's still definitively the worst.
That's ridiculous.
By far.
You're ridiculous.
This sucks ass. You guys are
so
losers.
I beat Bioshock December 15th at 10:28 p.m.
How do you know that? You log it in your phone?
You just look at his trophy.
No,
No.
because
I didn't know that.
I just I looked at whenever I talked about it on
Oh, that too. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it. Bioshock is your new number 30, above Fable, below Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze. Phil, do you agree? Maybe should stay in the C tier.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I don't think it's bad enough in its gameplay to be worth a C tier or be worth a D tier.
Wait till we get to the D tier game of this month.
Fable really was that bad mechanically, wasn't it? Yeah, I agree with that. So Connor, it's your month. Your time to choose. What are we playing for the month of January?
Well, some people might know, due to an agreement that happened, but
So annoying.
it might be Phil
Why is it annoying?
because it's collusion.
So
Tavin, you're only saying that because it's Metal Gear. It's Metal
right,
Gear.
but you're getting the same thing out of it. My thing is like I kind of like it because it means we get to get through some franchises a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm. Not because it happens to be before Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta. Nothing. No. Oh, bullshit.
for
Me more,
Delta.
Tavin.
No, I can.
You
No,
want
it's not
this
for
to be
Delta.
there before
It's not
then.
for
Why
Delta.
are you
It's
saying
because I want to
Delta?
talk about Snake Eater. I want to put Snake Eater on the list.
I never said it was Snake Eater I'm choosing.
I would rather. What do you choose?
I said Metal Gear, dude. I'm choosing. No. It is the year of the snake.
It is the year of the
Auspiciously,
snake.
Phil. It is the year of the snake. So even if I didn't want to,
Oh.
I have to.
Makes sense for it to be Tavin's year.
I don't know what that means.
Delta, I'm assuming.
Calling me a snake, but I don't know why.
I'm calling him a snake.
Oh shit. Why?
It's Tavin, you know.
I mean, I agree with that. I just didn't know if there was a specific reason. But yeah, you're a snake.
It's a very serpentine name, you know.
Tavin. It's French.
What are we playing?
I just told you. Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Fantastic.
It is the year of the snake.
Excellent. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is what we were playing through the month of January. Come to us the first Tuesday, the first Monday, if you want to watch us record it live, of February. We will be back with a Game Club review of Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
February 3rd.
Damn it.
There it is. Boom, boom, boom. Until next time, have a great time. Thank you so much for watching and listening. Make sure you ring off in the comments below how you feel about Bioshock and why I'm wrong. And,
You'll get a lot of that.
Yeah, I will. And until
Certainly.
next time, have a great time. Gentlemen, say goodbye to the people.
Goodbye,
See ya.
people.